Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Economic Development Planning Committee. It is 6 o'clock. Is there anything anybody would like to discuss before we get started? Hearing nothing, let's go right to the resolutions. First resolution is scheduling a public hearing, inclusion of parcels into agricultural district number 2, Economic Development and Planning. Sponsor, Mr. Pep, second. Mr. Sager, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? We'll move that to the legislature. Next resolution is a resolution to establish the Montgomery County Legislature as the lead agency in the secret determination for inclusion of parcels into agricultural district number 2, Economic Development and Planning. Sponsor, Brian, second. Dan Wilson, Anna. Is there any other discussion?
Sure.
Or wait a minute.
I see one address. Is that the only?
Yes,
or just one parcel?
it's 2 parcels owned by the same person.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? All right, Cheryl. We have a motion to adjourn.
Moved.
Fair and Sweet, adjourned at 6:01. Thank you very much.
I think the Wi-Fi's down.
I'd like to call the Fiscal Services Committee to order. Discussion. If so, I'll move right to the first resolution. Resolution authorizing the county exec, the second letter agreement on the order of consent between the New York State Department of ENCON and Montgomery County Sanitary District 1. Responsive, Legislator Pett. Legislator Fair. All those in favor of moving to the board? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Next resolution, resolution authorizing the county exec to sign a contract extension, Santos Construction Corporation, Department of Public Works. I have a sponsor, Mike Pep. Legislator Sweet. All those in favor of moving it to a full board?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Next resolution, resolution authorizing the county exec to sign an agreement of control of snow and ice for public works. Do I have a sponsor? Legislator Sweet, Legislator Thayer. Any other discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
I think this line item was up, we haven't accepted the budget yet, and this, of course, would authorize an expenditure in that budget that represents I think, a little more than $40,000 increase over last year. And then last year's budget was up $20,000 over the previous year. So I'm wondering what that is based on. Do we have any information?
I don't believe that there's an increase in the per center lane mile.
Yeah, there's a, go ahead, Sean.
What had happened last year, the contract was ratified after the adoption of the budget, so there was a budget amendment done during this year to put it up to where it should have been. That's why it appears that there was an increase for the 21 budget, but there was not, because for the 20 budget, the amount that was adopted was not correct because it was ratified after the adoption.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And the next, the budget that was given to you reflects what is here, so there wouldn't be a need for a change.
You know what, I think you covered that for me last week. I appreciate that. Thank you. I'll set.
All right, all those in favor move to full board?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? So moved. Next resolution, resolution approving the sale of surplus equipment, Public Works. We have a sponsor. Legislator Pep. Legislator Fair. Any other discussion? All those in favor of moving it to a full board?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? So moved. Next resolution, amending the 2020 operating budget, surplus equipment, auctions, Public Works. I'll sponsor it. Do I have a second? Legislator Pep. All those in favor of moving to a full board?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? So moved. Next resolution, amending the 2020 operating budget for overtime, data processing. We have a sponsor. Legislator Sweet, Legislator Fair. Any other discussion? All those in favor of moving to a full board?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? And then we come to other. County exec would like to take the floor and
Sure,
make a
thanks.
discussion.
Thank you. We, have Eric and Ken here to talk about, the bids that we've gotten back, related to the DPW facility. I think we're all very familiar with that. We have a $2 million grant. I'm sure Ken is gonna talk about the actual bids, and Eric will as well as what our options are at this point. And, the purpose tonight is really to, ingest and digest the information and, have a discussion and see where we want to go. We have the $2 million grant, we have the bids. Obviously, this is not the best time, but there's certainly, it's a very worthwhile issue, and given the deterioration of the current building, and the fact that we have this $2 million grant. So I really would turn it over to Ken and Eric to start the discussion, provide the information. We can answer questions and see where the legislature wants us to move from here.
I just got a quick one to start off. I think we left, and please correct me if I'm wrong, when we last left this and we tabled it, we were around $10 million, and we got the grant for 2, we were looking at maybe bonding 8. I just added up all these things this morning when I saw this and redid it, and it looks like it's about 11.3, all the things in bold. So, does that mean we'd be looking at bonding like 9.3 to do this, just before we get into the details?
Well, just my understanding is with the way the grant would work, we bond the whole thing similar to the beach nut grant, and then we'd seek reimbursement. But again, really this has been, Eric and Ken have really done the legwork on this, so I defer to them on some of the details. But as far as the bonding goes, it would be a bond for the whole thing.
Right.
And then we'd submit the $2 million.
But the resultant
Yes, correct.
would be higher than we last left it because prices have gone up in the meantime?
And they have that, there's a whole host of variables here.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm sorry. Cheryl, did you get a chance to send the bid results to
Yes,
the legislature?
yep, everybody has copies.
All right, so if you guys look, we did, obviously, we pulled the bid back in March because of everything going on with COVID. We couldn't have a pre-bid meeting or anything like that. So we felt that go back out to bid, was actually a good time. Lero engineers felt that it was an extremely beneficial time to go out with regards to the way everything is, and contractors, we felt were hungry. I will tell you that when the bids came in, Lero seemed to be happy where the bid results came in, and they, so they were excited about that. But if you guys actually look at the sheets to get to your question, Legislator Pep, if you actually add everything up with the bid alternates, the one bid alternate for the general construction, we took out alternate number 3, which was the platform lift. So if you look at their recommendation on just the general construction, you'll see that with the contingency, you're actually looking at that bottom figure on that last paragraph, which is 7.868822. So that's how you look. If you look at all the bids, and then you look at that very last number of their recommendation, that's with the contingency in place. So if you look at the GC bid, you have to add the 191,922 for a 2.5% contingency. That's their recommendation. If you look at all the other bids, they're looking at a 5% contingency. So when you really add up everything, you're looking at construction, total construction of about 12.169832 million. And if you look at, we did get a quote on CM. We'll potentially, if the legislature decides to move forward with this, we probably want to go out to an RFP on the actual construction management services, because we think it might potentially be cheaper. But if you look at that quote, you have to add that quote to it too, which should be the last sheet in there of 523,960. So all in, without the lift, you're actually looking at an overall construction cost of $12,693,762. So to answer your question, yes, it's reimbursable. We do have $2 million, but the county would have to bond for that $2 million. It's the same grant that we did receive for the emergency management garage that's up there. We did receive our money for that this year. Now it's the same situation. Everything is reimbursable after everything's done, and DEC is signed up on the project itself.
And how long's the grant good for? I know we're running out of time, we're on a little bit of a clock anyway.
Yeah, the grant is good for up through, and I just looked at it too, it's good through 3/4/2024.
Oh, okay.
Now, keep in mind too that every time we go out to bid, obviously, we're gonna get dinged by Lero to go out to bid and update the documents. And then in addition, we have to report back to DEC on a quarterly basis with regards to where we are at with this project. So those quarterly reports go in. I don't know what would happen if we went back to them and showed them that we're not moving forward at this time with regards to the way the state's situation is financially. So, that's up in the air as of right now. But as of right now, we are under contract with them for $2 million.
Any other discussion on this matter? Eric, you don't want to add anything?
I'm here to answer questions.
Okay.
Legislator Wilson is asking.
Yeah, one other thing to just note that the bids that we did receive, they do have, there's 60 days that those bids are good for. So these bids came out, I believe it was on October 9th, I believe was the bid due date.
Legislator Cap, did you give your hand in the picture?
All right, any other discussion? Make a motion to close?
Oh, I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second, that's very sweet.
Fraser?
Yes.
Okay, we'll call the Public Safety Committee to order. First thing on the agenda is discussion. Anyone on the committee or any of the legislators have anything to discuss? If not, we'll move right on to the resolutions. First resolution is a resolution authorizing county executive to enter into contracts with school districts for resource officer positions. Need a sponsor?
I'll sponsor.
Second? Right there. Discussion? Sheriff, you want to elaborate on this?
It's something that we've done every year for a while now. We have a school resource officer in Amsterdam High and Fultonville Central. And that portion of reimbursement you see does include fringes. So it covers just about the entire salary. And, we have the deputy to use when school's closed or vacations or summertime.
Any other discussion? Not all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? So carried. Next resolution is a resolution authorizing the county executive to sign an agreement with the Hagan Fire Department for use of the substation. I'll sponsor, need a second. Legislator Pep. Discussion? Sheriff, you want to elaborate?
For years, we've occupied a substation at the Hagan Fire Department, and they've always requested stuff from the county. We've never really been able to do much for them, other than we'll give them a few flares or some windshield washer fluid. And now there's an established substation in Nelson that we pay $100 a month for. And when Hagan built a new station, they actually built an office for us with a private entrance. And I feel like it's the right thing to do and something that they deserve and will keep us equal on both ends of the county. It actually saves money in the budget because our staff can go there in comparison to running back and forth to Fonder to get gas or to come back to the office.
Any further discussion? Not all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? So carried. Next resolution is a resolution amending the 2020 operating budget for kitchen equipment. I'll sponsor, need a second. Legislator Pep. Sheriff?
Everyone knows the situation we're in with the jail revenue. We're having a great year, and this kitchen equipment is down, and it's original. So the fact that it's original means that we got a long time out of it. Hopefully we can get the same amount of years out of this equipment. This is approved GSA contract pricing through the purchasing agent, and it includes install and removal of the old.
Yeah, that's 25 years old, most of the stuff.
Correct.
What equipment is it?
It's a brazier, an oven, and a dishwasher.
Thank you.
I saw the brazier when I was up there. It's, needs to be replaced.
According to the cooks, the brazier is really the biggest piece of equipment that they use on a daily basis.
Yes.
They've been struggling without it.
I did not know what a brazier was until
I did not
I
either.
was looked at it. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? So carried. Next resolution is a resolution amending the 2020 operating budget equipment. I need a sponsor.
Sponsor.
So Headwell, second. Legislator Wilson. Discussion, Sheriff?
Just some private donations received to the sheriff's office for any purposes that we deem necessary, and we're in the need of some right-handed and left-handed holsters that get issued to staff for consistency. So we thought it was a perfect opportunity to use that money, and it doesn't affect the budget.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained? So carried. Next resolution is a resolution amending the 2020 operating budget motor vehicle equipment. I'll sponsor, need a second. Legislator Pep. Sheriff.
This is the resolution that came out of last week's budget sessions. Again, using some of the jail revenue to purchase a couple of vehicles.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? So carried. And then we all have an add-on that is now on the laptops. It is a resolution authorizing the county executive to sign contract with Frontier Communications 911 phone upgrade. I'll sponsor, need a second.
Awesome.
Legislator Wilson. Sheriff, you want to explain?
Yeah, I apologize for the add-on, thank you to the county attorney. This is an agreement that came, Motorola is looking to increase their fourth quarter numbers, and this is a project slated for early spring of 2021. They offered us a $10,000 discount if we can get the contract signed and in place and in their hands by December 1st. So we wanted to work on that and take advantage of the situation. Fulton County's in the same boat because we share backup 911 centers, so they're doing the same exact thing as we're doing. Thankfully, this is grant money as well, it should be pointed out, which is
Right.
huge for us.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Anyone have anything under other? Not, need a motion to adjourn? Legislator Wilson?
I'll second.
Legislator Pep, adjourned at 6:19.
All set, Sean?
Yes.
Call the Personnel Committee meeting to order. We have two resolutions this evening. You have in your packets two separate memorandums of agreement relative to both resolutions. The first is a resolution authorizing the county executive to sign a memorandum of agreement between the county of Montgomery, Montgomery County Department of Sheriff Police Benevolent Association for the time period of January 1st, 2018 through December 31st, 2020. Will someone move the resolution? I think we have the sponsor in a second, thank you.
Who's second?
That's Fair and Wilson.
Oh, thank you.
Is there any discussion here? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed or abstentions? Carried to the full board. Second is a similar resolution authorizing the county executive to enter into a memorandum of agreement between the county of Montgomery and Council 82 Correction Supervisors. So, we have a sponsor, Pep. Second, Wilson. This too is covered in the budget, so, is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed or abstentions? Motion's carried. Entertain a resolution to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Aaron Wilson, thank you.
Sure.
I'll say.
Okay, I'll call the Education Government Committee meeting to order at 6:22. First, we have privilege of the chair, committee members' discussion. Having none, I'm going to then turn it over to the attorney to talk about the next discussions, Supreme Court ruling regarding Resolution 110.
Just briefly, Resolution 110 of 2019, the Montgomery County Legislature authorized Montgomery County to submit, to join in support with a pending Supreme Court case before the United States Supreme Court. It was regarding gun rights for these New York citizens. This is the case where there were concerns that somebody who had a pistol permit in New York City could try to have a state with their pistol under that permit from New York City. Subsequent to us making that decision to enter into the Supreme Court case, the Supreme Court, or the New York actually amended that law to allow for people who have pistol permits to drive to another residence. So by the time it got to the Supreme Court, the issue was moot. They deemed it moot. They remanded it to the Court of Appeals for further proceedings for any new felons that would be implicated by the change in the law. So that's where that stands. So I wanted to just give you an update. And yeah.
Point of clarification, you
Yeah.
stated New York.
Yes.
I think you specifically mean New York City.
Yes. Yes.
And
Sorry. New York City amended their law. Thank you. So I wanted to just give you an update and let you know what the result was of us joining in that Supreme Court case, and answer any questions.
Yeah, I understand the nature of the case. I read this. But specifically, when you joined the amicus, what is that about exactly? Are you doing any submissions of briefs or anything of that nature?
No, I didn't have to draft anything this time. What we did is there was a brief overall that we joined in, so we basically just signed on to it with other counties from New York State.
I really didn't understand what that meant exactly. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Anything else? Next, we have two resolutions tonight regarding FMCC, and before we get to both of those, I'll have Greg Winters to speak on both of those, if you would.
Sure. Thank you, Legislator. Well, so the resolutions we have before you this evening are related to our capital projects. As you recall, we had projects that went through and were approved, and New York State Division of Budget made some changes, and so we had to modify the plan. New York State Division of Budget was only approving health and safety projects. So we present to you a revised, earlier in the year, we presented a revised slate that deal with fire alarm panels, some HVAC in our buildings, and wastewater treatment plant alarm system. Those projects were ultimately approved by the New York State Division of Budget. Fulton County at their meeting last month approved contracts, and so one of the resolutions before you is to add your endorsement of those contracts for those capital projects that will be commencing as soon as that is complete. The other resolution that you have has to do with the Financial Technology Center. Again, this is a project that you have previously approved. We were seeking no local match from that, from either sponsor county. We learned from the SUNY Office of Capital Facilities that there's an opportunity for getting the match on this project. It's not a lot, but they encouraged us to submit for that reimbursement. The foundation of FMC is providing the local match, and then we're asking for the state dollar match for that project moving forward.
So the first resolution, we have a resolution authorizing FMCC Foundation Financial Technology Lab Phase 1 Project Campus Critical Maintenance. Sponsor, John, second, Mike. Any other discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Okay, the second resolution we have is resolution authorizing FMCC Campus Lab and Classroom Phase 3 Project Health and Safety. Sponsor? Sponsor. Okay, second, President Wilson. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Okay. And anything on the other? Hearing none, a motion to adjourn? President Wilson, President. Thank you.
All right, I'd like to call the Budget and Finance Committee meeting to order at 6:27, and remind it's a committee of the whole. And open the floor up for discussion of any particular items. Hearing none, we have one resolution on the board here, but we have two add-ons that I don't see posting here, so you're gonna have to rely on the copy.
I'll update the agenda here in a second.
Okay. But we'll move through the first one, and our first resolution is a resolution approving abstract of audited claims. We have sponsor and legislator Thayer, second legislator Patel. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. All right, the next two add-ons pertain to properties, and I'm gonna do my best because obviously these were introduced to us very late in the day today, and I did get not an amicus brief, but I did get a briefing from our county attorney on it briefly, a brief of about 5 minutes on the phone. And it really has to do with getting some parcels, correcting some of the tax information on them, and then or denying correction on some of them, and then correcting some of the others. This has nothing to do, I know you're all familiar in some way, shape, or form with the land bank attempting to dispute taxes that they inherited on properties that we assigned to them, and then all the penalties and accrued interest that have accumulated on them since that time, since they haven't paid any of those back taxes. But this is kind of a precursor to that, let's put it that way, by reorganizing some of these properties, the ones involved of which they claim are ready to be sold. And we need these things corrected before that they can, be put on the market and be sold. Megan, I will defer to you at this particular point in time to fill in the multitude of blanks that I've left here.
So, in summary, the land bank, brought up concerns that they had not been getting the correct exemption under taxes. So they submitted an application for correction. And there are still more to come, as Legislator Peck mentioned. However, for right now, real property trying to prioritize this, knowing that the land bank does apparently have some properties they're trying to sell, so that we are not standing in their way of that. So under real properties review, and we have the real property director here who can most definitely give you more details on this if you want. And please stop me if I'm messing anything up. But real property did a review along with the treasurer's office, and for this initial batch, it looked like 5 properties were entitled to a correction, meaning that their exemption was not put on properly and that they were entitled to be corrected.
Yeah, one thing I want to mention on the corrected one, most of these, there was no county tax issue, they were re-levied by the village and school, which then were re-levied onto our county bill, which is what we're correcting, they shouldn't have been charged. So these are all ones that they shouldn't have been charged.
Just for those 5. And then for the other resolution, you have a resolution denying the correction. There are 9 properties that were reviewed and they were taxed correctly, and their exemptions were properly applied. So that's
Right.
the short version.
Yeah, these are either properties that, they acquired, the taxes were already out when they acquired them, or, they were in agreement with the one resolution to pay them. So these, I think there's 10,
Okay, so, I mean,
cannot be corrected.
these moves need to be made regardless of the case they're presenting to us, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
The final figure would be, Sean, I'm just moving to deny them or agree to correct them at this point.
Anybody need any further clarification on what we're gonna be acting on here? Thank you.
And denials always have to go through you, and corrections above $2,500 go through you.
Correct.
There's another 8 corrections that are no problem.
Okay. All right, well then our first add-on resolution is a resolution correcting 2019 through 2020 town and county tax rolls on various parcels.
I'll sponsor.
I'll second.
All right, we have Legislator Patel with a sponsor, Legislator Hedwell with a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions, thank you. And our second add-on resolution is a resolution denying the correction of the 2019,
Oh, that's a typo.
2020 town and county tax rolls on 10 various parcels.
I'll sponsor.
Legislator Patel, second Legislator Thayer. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions. Thank you.
Can I just make a comment?
Absolutely, we'll do other.
Chairman?
Yes, Chairman Isabel?
Yes, I have a question. The total amount that the land bank owes the county at this point, approximately with these corrections?
It's like 82,000.
Yeah, I think it's like 62,000 of back taxes, plus interest and penalties up to, you've been into
It
these.
was 18 or 19.
And how long does that go back for?
Megan?
About 2 years.
Yeah. They're mostly 19s, there's a couple 18s that were never paid and re-levied,
Thank you.
mostly 2 a year.
So we're looking at about $70,000 to $80,000 they owe us. Thank you.
A little bit over 80, Chairman, a little bit over 80. Treasurer Farmer.
Just for clarification purposes, tax amount was outstanding is $62,740, interest of $19,275. Total due is $81,348. There is one property that goes all the way back to 2018 town and county taxes that are outstanding. That is a property that the land bank acquired on their own. It was not a property that the county agreed to transfer to them. That was one that they went out and acquired themselves.
That was the ambulance?
No,
No.
No, that's a different one.
that's a different one.
And does someone know here what they're asking us to forgive?
Well, I would defer to Counselor and Legislator Patel, who have been involved in these meetings, versus the rest of us.
Nothing to do with these two resolutions have anything
I
to do.
didn't ask that, I asked if they, what they're asking us to forgive.
So,
And
if
I have a right to
I
ask
think
that.
I have the floor, and I'd like to
Okay,
answer your
then answer my
question.
question.
The answer is, we had this meeting, and we went over everything, and there was no ask to relieve them of anything.
Previous, that's what started all this, wasn't it?
No, there was discussion of what was not taxed properly, and question on others that were taxed properly. And there's no forgiving of anything. There's no dollars giving back to them. There's no forgiving them. As it is right now, the original amount was in the $80,000 range. They had arguments that were reviewed by council, by real property, and by the treasurer's office. And everybody agreed, including their attorney, and it was reduced to around $62,000.
We didn't get a letter originally asking them for forgiveness of these taxes or
I don't-
penalties?
I don't
You
see it,
didn't get that?
not that I know of. Maybe someone else does.
Counselor, did we ever get any correspondence of that nature? I mean, what, was that was the true catalyst of this meeting the fact that they wanted these things corrected, or is the fact that these things need to be a byproduct of the catalyst for the meeting, which was to try and negotiate something?
Prior to this.
I would have to review that email again.
Would you review that letter and would you give us an opinion on that?
Yep. I can't recall exactly how they worded it. But they did reach out to us about tax errors, and, I would have
If
to.
they're
really
entitled to money, that's fine. If they're entitled to ask for forgiveness, that's a different story.
And I would just ask the both of you, since you've been at these meetings, do you think they will be coming back asking for anything? Are they setting the table to come back and ask for anything? If you had to opine based on the content of those meetings, will we be seeing any resolution in the future that they may be requesting forgiveness of interest and penalties, or the original tax amounts, or both?
Anything that I saw, there was nothing that was asking for them. I mean, the spirit of this meeting that we had last week was to clarify and get everybody into one room, including the people from the land bank, so we could meet head to head and go through this. And they had their attorney on line, and the surprising part was when the executive director of the land bank had asked Megan a question, Megan answered it. The executive director was not happy with it, asked their attorney for an opinion on it, and their opinion said that our counsel was correct.
Was the treasurer's office ever, and you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, Sean, were you ever asked the possibility of relieving penalties or any of this tax?
No, at this time, it's just, they're disputing
And
something.
how much is this total dispute so far?
The dispute is the corrections that were just approved.
About how much, 2,000, 3,000?
I don't know the exact amount of the corrections you just approved, but.
Okay, so $2,000, $3,000 on $80,000, is that what it is we're looking at?
I can get you that number for.
Please let me
next
know,
week.
all right? Thank you.
So if I could, I just wanted to
Absolutely.
take a minute, and I wanted to thank the treasurer's office, real property, and our attorney who sat down and very patiently went through each and every one of the properties. There was over 20 parcels that were reviewed in that period of time. Everybody was professional, everybody worked together, and I wanted to thank you all for the great job that you did.
Everybody set? Any more questions or discussion on this? Thank you, Legislator Patel. All right, that's it for the resolutions. We will quickly go over the dashboards, if we can pull them out. I guess, you know, the topic du jour is our sales tax. And actually, the prognosis is even looking, at this point, better than we suspected or expected, looking at last month's. So, you know, when we looked at August, we were actually looking at receipts through June. September means we're looking at them through July. However, when I met with Sean to review this dashboard last Friday morning, he indicated he had received all receipts in for the month of August. And that the state had made a positive upward adjustment as well. What was it called, Sean? What's their buzzword? All right, not important. Positive upward adjustment. And you can see by looking at the dashboard that we're only 135,000 or so behind last year, which technically would have been through July. However, through August, excuse me, our total is 23,068,000. So, you know, just protracting that out over the rest of the year, dividing it by 8, multiplying it times 12, it looks like receipts, sales tax receipts could climb over $34 million. You know, that actually equates to 34.5 million. However, our treasurer is couching that a little bit, figuring that we may have some negative COVID adjustments and whatnot. So even if you take 10% off of that for the fourth quarter, which would be about 1,380,000, it would bring it down to about a little over 33 million, which is the figure we hit last year, which is 2 million above our budgeted figure for this year of $31 million. So, you know, it's all a prognostication at this point, but the good news is it's trending upward, not downward, you know, based on, you know, some gloom and doom we thought we were going to encounter back in March, April, and May. Looking at the state aid DSS and the federal aid DSS, as of our meeting Friday, August claims have been submitted. Sean was waiting for journal entries on them to post them. Have you received them, Sean?
Not yet.
Not yet. So they're not yet reflected in these numbers, and you don't see it in the dashboard. And obviously, September's claims need to be submitted by October 20th based on our prescribed procedure that we put together a year or more ago. So that takes care of state aid and federal aid DSS. State aid other is down, but keeping in mind that all of those are a function of claims being submitted. So if claims aren't submitted, there's no corresponding expenses either. Home and community services, when you look down on the expense side of the general fund, you can see that that's at 84%. You know, keep in mind we're looking at any expenditures that exceed 80%. Now the saving grace there, though, however, is it's offset by departmental income up in the revenue section, which is where we recognize our solid waste income, and that's riding at 81%, which is well above budget. So other than that, there's really nothing glaring, unless anybody wants to ask any questions or talk about anything on the county road, the road machinery or the health insurance fund. But those were the hot buttons looking at the September month-end dashboard. You know, and obviously Sean's here to take any questions if anybody has any. And if not, I'll accept the motion to adjourn the Budget and Finance Committee. Legislator Fair, second, anybody? Legislator Switch, thank you.